So this is a cautionary tale for those out there, the mighty seas of the road. So I am, the pandemic hits and we all end up staying home a lot more. And then it's like, hey, insurance company goes, yo, we'll just say the gecko, says, yeah, I'm going to raise your rates for absolutely no friggin' reason. And I'm like, well, I don't care for that. So I search around and I go to Zebra. So it's an animal tail. I go to Zebra, and Zebra punched out a whole bunch of potential people that could, or companies that could lower my rates. And one of them strikes out to me because I had Progressive at one point in time when I used to drive motorcycles. So I'm like, okay, I'll go with them. And then they're like, hey, Mr. Cool Driver, Mr. Good efficient driver guy, if you go ahead and go with our software, our Snapshot, or our little dangle thing, we'll go ahead and drop your rate even a little bit further. And I got greedy. I should have just grabbed a great rate because it was actually much lower than the gecko was offering me. And so, okay, I'm like, all right, I'll go with the app. But then the app was having trouble downloading, and I thought about it, and I really didn't want the app tracing me when I was walking around. But then again, I'm not going anywhere, so I'm not sure what I was thinking. But I didn't want one more thing on my phone just reporting away, right? So I go ahead and I go for their little dangle things, and they send me the Snapshot. And, well, the Snapshot arrives, and they're actually kind of cute looking. They look like this, and they go right into your ODO port, which looks like this, and it's underneath your dash, right? And they're even labeled. One goes to my 99 Civic, not my car, but it doesn't get driven much, so, whatever, our car. And that one has a weak battery, but it drains it faster than normal. So I'm like, something's up here. And the other one goes into my 2011 Prius, which I've got a Type 3. And Type 3, it doesn't have any of the luxuries that you can get, but the luxuries that came with it were really awesome. So I'm like, okay, and the first day of driving around, it dings if you stop too hard or if you take a turn too fast. And it's, if you need control of your driving and you can't control yourself, it's not really that bad of an idea. And plus you can go online and see what kind of reporting it does and how far you've driven and all that. And so I'm always in the telemetry. So I'm annoyed I'm being big brothered, but at the same time I'm like, it's kind of cool to, see how my life is actually spanning when I'm what I'm acting like when I drive. Well, it's a Prius. I mean, come on. I'm not out there like drag racing anymore. My days of street racing are way over. So the next day comes, right? And it's musty in my car. So I'm like, I'm going to get some fresh air because I'm away from everybody in Pandemic City, right? So I go to drop. Now, the way my controls work, my Windows controls on the Type 3 Prius is, when some of the cars you got that, you hold it down and it drops the window all the way. You don't even have to touch the button anymore. You just push it up for a second or hold it down for a second and raise and lowers. Well, the Type 3 Prius does that for all the windows, and it's really cool. So all of a sudden, I don't have control over my other windows, and my auto up and down is history, right? Then on top of it, the lock system of it is also history, right? And then the controls to prevent back windows from going down, the child protection, that is history. So I'm like, what gives? And it's been like the second day. So I go through a whole bunch of internet troubleshooting, right? And there's all these, hold this for 10 seconds, do these for 10 seconds. There's all these little tricks, get the rubber chicken out, nothing's working. So then I'm like, okay, it's time for the mechanic. I could take it apart. I could go get a thing. I'm thinking, well, it's a door piece, or it's a window controlling system. Maybe 220. I'm feeling pretty upset, but I'm like, okay, that's not the end of the world. So I send them to the mechanic, and they look it over, and they get back to me, and it's like an $800 repair. And I'm like, ooh. So then I'm like, well, what the hell caused this? What is different about my car that would have caused this? Because it's not a heavy use part. I don't drop my windows that often, and the car is older, but it's 2011, and we're now in 2100, so it's still like 10 years. It's a Toyota, right? So the only thing that is changed about my car is that this little guy got plugged in. I already knew I already believe it drew down the battery on the other one. So I do a little web searching, and I found out these guys have a class action lawsuit against them. Apparently they're pretty heavy on the power draw. So I start talking to the mechanic, and they're going to investigate, right? And I'm like, oh, well, this is what I have insurance for. So I have Progressive investigate. And now, to their credit, Progressive was like, do you need a rental car? Do you need, you can get your rental car anytime you need. I got this Civic up and running, and actually once I pulled that thing out and I started running the car regularly, the battery started acting great. So no problems there, right? And they took a while to investigate this. I'll have to be honest. I was a little disappointed. At first, I was told it'd be like Friday, and then it was going to be looked at Monday, and then it went to a whole week, and then basically they didn't even say anything. They just asked for some pictures. And then, there's some, the mechanic said one thing, they say the other thing kind of thing going on. I don't know what really happened, but my customer service person was great. But the moral of the story is, if you're going to plug anything into your ODO port, um, the chief mechanic of my shop, the owner of my shop, said that the port is meant for communication. It's not meant for heavy power draw. The circuits just aren't they're not designed for that. And so the moral of the story is, if you're going to plug something into your car, you might want to just, even if it's a UL approved device, which this is, it is a UL approved device, you might want to go ahead and look online and see if anybody else is having trouble. I've used an audio communication device that I bought off the internet that was fine, that I used to check the car all the time. In fact, when I first got the car, when you backed up, it beeped all the time you're backing up. And I went in there and I changed that to just beep once to let me know it's reverse and stop doing it, because that was going to cause an accident. And before you plug something in this, especially to save something as little as $40, be very careful, because you may be surprised. My attempt to save $40 has cost me $800. So just my little, there's no proof that this actually caused it, although it was the only thing that got plugged in or changed in the whole car. Might be coincidence, might not. Um, had I do it all over again, I would have just eaten the $40 and gone on my merry way. Hope that helps anyone.